What's going on, apes? My name is Tyler and welcome back to the channel over this weekend for a very important AMC update video. Now, this is not specifically about AMC, but it is at the same time. This is revolving around banks and Citadel market makers alike, a lot of people with a lot of money, their margin requirements, and what is going to be happening on July 30th that could change the game and cause some forced liquidations for short sellers in AMC or any other stock that they are over leveraged in. So this is very important that we do cover on this channel. So without any further ado, make sure to hit that like button as well as comment down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. I recommend you guys stick around a while. So getting right into it, guys, this is from Fin Watchdog. It says start here. This is a very long thread. We're going to go through everything you guys need to know. It says next Friday, July 30th at 4:15 p.m. the Federal Reserve will publicly releasing the total derivative exposure numbers for the biggest domestic and foreign banks and their lending clients, including Citadel. This is very important, including Citadel, including people with just a large amount of money overall. The banks and their sponsors is what it's called. But hashtag MOAS guarantee AMC GME. So basically in this first picture, just going over, what is going on. It says description. This report collects systemic risk data from the large U.S. bank holding companies, BHCS, covering savings and loan holding companies, SLHCS, foreign banking organizations, FBOs, with combined U.S. assets of $100 billion or more, including, if applicable, any U.S. intermediate holding company, IHS, of the FBO and the US-based organizations designated as global systemically important banks. The Federal Reserve used the FRY15 data to monitor an ongoing basis the systemic risk profile of the institutions which are subject to enhanced prudential standards under Section 165 of the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. In addition, FRY15 is used to facilitate the implementation of the surcharge for GSIBS, identify other institutions which may present significant systemic risk, and analyze the systemic risk implications of proposed mergers and acquisitions. So this is very important to understand. This will be coming out, like I said, July 30th. So this is right around the corner and could be big for over-leveraged firms, including those with short positions in especially AMC. But this thread does go on to say, this is why we found Citadel Connect. The Federal Reserve is auditing the entire financial system thanks to the directive issued via Federal U.S. Code Chapter 12, which was updated July 1st, 2021. The ATS dark pool was also FOIA'd. So we're going to be making a whole video about that, so I don't want to focus on that too much in this video. But this next part of this thread, it says, how was 2008 crash caused? Because of out of control derivatives, which is true. If you guys remember, maybe you guys were alive, maybe you didn't understand what happened, but it was mortgage-backed securities and CDOs basically bundling these bad mortgages together, selling them off, and then betting using derivatives on those same bad assets. So once everything came crashing down, you didn't just lose if you own the asset, you lost on your derivatives too. So that was a huge problem, and that is really what they're trying to avoid happening again. But it says this report is an annualized report that banks can easily lie about. Now it must be a daily average report every quarter. Here's JP Morgan with over 40 trillion in derivative exposure 2 years ago. Pull this up. As you guys can see, trillions and trillions of dollars worth of derivative exposures. 40 trillion is more than the whole entire US economy. That is almost double the whole entire US economy. So you guys can see how this could be a huge problem, and considering that our margin debt is now at 861.63 billion, it's safe to say that there's a lot of over-leveraged hedge funds and institutions with very risky derivative positions. So that is really what this whole thing is about. Now, so why does this matter? Well, the changes to USC Chapter 12 Part 249 established a risk framework for all financial institutions with over 100 billion in total assets if their FRY15 report comes up showing a lot of risk. Then the Federal Reserve Board reserves the authority to force them to recapitalize their balance sheet, meaning all of their risky assets must be sold off until they fall within a certain framework for 4 consecutive quarters, just like Wells Fargo. He says HF, that means Wells Fargo. So he's basically saying that is why Wells Fargo has cut their personal lines of credit, and that does make a lot of sense at this point because Wells Wells Fargo is seen as one of the riskiest banks, and this only does make sense. But let's continue on. It says, I understand that many of you will be skeptical, but as probability one of the only retailers to actually read the US federal code changes, I challenge you to prove me wrong. The legal speak in the code says that this report is our endgame, and I dare to say mvis guarantee A7. There's so much more that retail needs to learn outside of the short squeeze saga to see that payday is right around the corner. We are T-minus 1 week from the collapse of the financial system, and I can prove it. My money is where my mouth is. I'm all in on AMC, GME, #crash. Now, once the Fed sees the numbers, they have given themselves authority to take immediate action on any bank that doesn't have the proper funding of their assets or the collateral for their liabilities, simply put as the undercapitalized section 249.2b. That is very important to understand what was just said about the cash and collateral, because we do see the overnight reverse repurchase agreements, or just better known as reverse repos. This is insane, guys. This is over double as high consecutively for months as we have ever seen. Back 2017, literally as far back as this has even been a thing, we are over double our all-time highs. And what I want you to point out is, obviously the last day was $877.25 billion worth, but eventually the Fed is going to say, we are not doing this anymore. You guys have to find something to do with this cash, or just liquidate a lot of your risky assets that you need these treasury bonds for as collateral. So that is very important to understand. Eventually this will stop, and if this does correlate with July 30th like this guy is saying, then that could be a huge problem and a huge deleveraging situation that would unfold. Now let's go back to the thread and let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at what this actually says. The board may require a board-regulated institution to maintain amount of available stable funding greater than otherwise required under this part, or to take any other measure to improve the board-regulated institution's stable funding. If the board determines that the board-regulated institution's stable funding requirements as calculated under this part are not commensurated with the board regulated institution's funding risk in making determinations under this section, the board will apply notice and response procedures as set forth in 12 CFR 263-202. So this is basically saying you're going to get a shit ton of margin calls if you are not keeping your ratios up to par. And the final kicker, once numbers are in, the Fed shall immediately exercise Section 38 of the FDI Act, aka prompt corrective action. Essentially, the FDIC will oversee your bank sell-off, and if you refuse, they will do it for you. Let's take a look at what exactly prompt corrective action is saying. So, Title I, Section 131A, prompt corrective action mandates progressive penalties against banks that exhibit progressively deteriorating capital ratios. At the lower extreme, a critically undercapitalized Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC regulated institution, one of the ratio of total capital assets below 2%, is required to be taken into receivership by the FDIC in order to minimize long-term losses to the FDIC. The motivation behind the law is to provide incentives for banks to address problems while they are still small enough to be manageable. In small pages, yeah, it goes on to say where you can find this actual wording, but that is what that is. So basically, if banks aren't complying, that the government is really going to oversee your sell-off and do what they want to do. Now, skip past a couple of these threads, but he says right here, let's take a quick moment to address the skeptics. Imagine you're Goldman Sachs. You know this report is about to come out in 2 weeks. This is a classic prisoner's dilemma. Since all institutions are reporting, why wait around and attempt an appeal? Now, it does say you have 14 calendar days of the issuance of the directive to actually issue or go for an appeal. Now, what he's basically saying is Goldman Sachs, they liquidated 25% of their investment branch of equities like stocks. So odds are they're doing this because this report is going to have to come out, and then they would have to do this anyways. So I think they're trying to get a jump on this, predicting that essentially the market could be coming down by this time, by July 30th. They want to get ahead of this, sell out sooner rather than later, collect as much as possible, and really ensure that they have their balance sheet up to par. So I think this is all very important information. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt, though. I don't know who this guy is. You guys don't know who this guy is, but it does seem to be very factual information. It does go on to say, mark my words, August 20th will be Black Monday. My money is where my mouth is. Every dollar is in AMC, GME, or HYG. I've maxed out my credit. I've been unemployed since 2019. If I haven't paid off my wife's house, car, CC, student loans by August 31st, I get pegged on OF A16. So I don't know what that means to you guys, but anyways, it does look like this is pretty factual information. It does cite all the sources, so I have no reason to really doubt what is being said, but always take this with a grain of salt. This is not trying to predict that the actual short squeeze or mother of all short squeezes will happen by Black Monday, by August 2nd, like he is saying, or by July 30th. This is not really saying anything, but I think we are coming for a correction, and this really comes down to a double-edged sword effect that I've talked about in many videos, where obviously you have all these regulatory agencies that are cracking down on the over leveraging, but at the same time of that, the hedge funds and institutions, while they have long positions in a lot of other stocks, they also have short positions in stocks as well, like AMC. And what's going to happen is, like we kind of talked about in here, they're going to liquidate their riskiest positions. So short seller selling a stock short, that is a very risky position, so they're going to be inclined to cover those AMC shorts, at the same time pushing AMC up, while as other stocks that they own are going down at the same time. So it's like a double-edged sword effect. You're losing on both ends of the equation, and you're gonna get out of one side, and obviously the side you're gonna get out of is your short positions in AMC and all these other stocks. So that is all you guys need to know about the potential deleveraging we could see July 30th going throughout that rest of the week. So if you guys like the analysis and content that was provided to you in the video, make sure to hit that like button, as well as comment down below. Let me know what you think about the situation. This does feel a little bit different, since we do have other banks, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, that are actually liquidating positions off and stopping lines of credit. I think this situation is really going to culminate into something. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to kick off the mother of all short squeezes, but let me know down below in the comment section what you guys do think about this, as well as consider subscribing to the channel. Also, if you guys want to get totally free stock, check out the link down below for public. No deposit necessary, no need to link bank account. You get your free stock in about 3 minutes time, and it is by definition free money. You cannot lose on this whatsoever. Free money. Check that out if you guys have not already. Also, if you guys want to be notified in real time every time a trade is bought or sold with stocks, options, or crypto in real time, whether it's a day trade, swing trade, or longer term investment, check out the link for the buy and sell alerts in the description. But with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video.